So, what are your signature dishes, and how could we kill you in reference to them?
You know, I actually thought about this whilst I was watching this film.
Of course.
And I've got an answer ready to go.
Let's go.
And the answer is that I would be killed by being taken straight out the fridge and eaten with no preparation or thought to how it's made a meal. It's just vegetarian ham right out the package.
I love it. I love it. That's so you.
Okay.
That's so you.
That's a great dating profile. Or LinkedIn profile comment is refrigerator ham straight out the packet.
That's me, baby.
Eat me straight from the fridge, please. Mine is risotto. Like everyone says, my risotto is really good. But I mean, I suppose you'd boil me slowly until I became squishy. I guess
that'd work.
You've got to add
cinematically.
cheese as well. You've got to add cheese. It's important in my opinion. So boil me slowly. Thank you.
Yeah, just a good old slab of Monterey Jack melted right over the face.
Yes.
And what about you, Paul? What's your signature dish?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh God, what do I do? Yesterday, I followed a recipe for a
Does someone order you from a kebab shop?
They could do. Yeah. That's pretty good. But I was on the Instagram, which is a terrible place for me because it gives me ideas above my station.
Yeah,
and one of them was, hey, forget cottage pie. Try this hachis parmentier, a French cottage pie essentially. So it's it proceeds to make a cottage pie. So I made that on Saturday. It was very good.
So smother you in mash.
Smother me in mash. That's pretty good.
Cook you on a lowish heat.
Cook me on a very low heat and then tear me to shreds. And use that instead of mince. That's basically and use red wine. Seems like the main difference between like English and French cooking. A lot of the elements are the same except red wine. Yeah.
You add wine.
Yeah, I mean, listen.
That's a great difference between French people and English people.
Add wine and also make a sauce.
We're often beer battered, to be fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, or an ale pie. Maybe that's the difference. We use beer, they use wine, you know.
Yep. I think that's
it.
fair. Much more down to earth.
And I think that's beautiful in many ways. I think we can meet across the channel. Beer swilling, wine quaffing, and
squaffing.
Inebriated brotherhood.
On a ferry.
They're not so different from us, the French. They're not so different.
Hey, at the point when you're standing outside an off-license screaming abuse, it doesn't matter what you've been drinking. With anyone who's had their fingers up our rectums. I'm Paul Blodgett, and I am joined at my meagre dinner table by pretty much half of Roll Plus Heart.
Yeah, Roll Plus Half.
Yeah, this is indeed what we refer to as Roll Plus Half.
Yep, that's us.
It's beautiful. It is indeed Helen, Gaffney, and Becs Watson. Tell us about yourselves. People, this is the first episode for someone.
Hi, someone.
Hello,
We're Helen and Becs, half of Roll Plus Heart, a queer actual play podcast. I'm online and Helen is not.
Yep, that's how it works. You can find me never. Fuck you.
Helen is living the fucking dream.
Uncontactable at all times.
Yep, that's me.
Paul just sent a pigeon out with a note on it that said Helen, one good thing, ? And Helen turned up today.
Yeah.
I just hope I start a Zoom meeting labeled Helen meeting and hope for the best. Just pure coincidence. Helen might type in a passcode vaguely similar to this one and end up with us. And it's worked out. I do it every week.
Yeah, it happens fairly frequently, to be fair. It's not.
To be fair. Yes, because last time Helen joined us, it was for the ploughman's lunch, but now it's time for dinner. And what could be tastier than the 1978 black comedy film, Who is Killing Europe's Greatest Chefs? No, is that it?
Who is killing the great chefs of Europe?
Yes, who is killing the great chefs of Europe?
Fucking hell.
The worst film name I've ever heard.
Or as it's known in the UK, Too Many Chefs.
Who's doing it? Who's doing it?
Who's doing it?
Who is killing the great chefs of Europe? Everyone wants to know.
Who's doing it?
George Siegel.
You don't think I killed him?
Jacqueline Bissett.
I am the dessert.
Robert Morley.
Who is it this time? Aunt Jemima?
In the most delicious mystery of the year. Who is killing the great chefs of Europe? Rated PG.
Starts Friday at flagship theaters throughout the area. Check available newspapers for theater near...
And I'd like to point out that when you initially put this into the group chat, I thought you were asking me a genuine question.
Same. Helen asked it of me first.
And I was like, they're dying?
It's like,
Who
what?
is killing the great chefs of Europe?
I'm asking everyone.
Old age, mostly.
Who are the great chefs of Europe?
Chronic alcoholism, I think you'll find is a resounding
It's
answer.
all of that standing outside the off-license screaming. It's not good for the health.
Yeah, it's not
They're
great.
They're catching colds out there. Now, I do have to warn the the OG folk and also yourselves that I didn't have time to as fully prepare my notes as I usually do. So I have everything here, but it's going to be a little bit choppy as I pick it out of the ether.
Well, I'd just like you to say, don't worry, because we've done at least some of the work for you, and we've got West Wing walk-ons covered.
Yeah.
Okay, thank
We're ready
God.
ahead with that.
Yeah.
Yep. Ahead of time.
Good. I'm absolutely thrilled at that.
Sarah made very, very, very clear to point it out to us before she left on her huge holiday.
That's I love that Sarah is contacting all of my guests to ensure that this is done.
Yeah. I mean, it's the only reasonable way to do it.
Fantastic. Well, yes, indeed, I do have editing, and as I have learned many a time, every minute I skip in preparation is a minute I pay for thrice in editing, so we shall look forward to the very smooth results that I'm sure you're listening to now. The film was written by Peter Stone, based on a novel in which I believe the killer is revealed immediately and it sort of follows them. So it's a very different kind of thing. But I also hear that the killer is different, so...
Oh.
But
so
I haven't been able to find out who it is.
Loosely based off.
Very loose.
Loosely based off. There was a hot lady who has sex with a bunch of chefs and then they die, and basically that's the premise they took.
Nice.
Although in this one, apparently they've really scaled back the erotic elements, which I imagine means...
Oh, bummer.
Yeah, I know, right? Which I think means that basically a couple of times in this movie she gets to them after they're dead, whereas in the novel, I think...
She fucks them all.
Yeah, she fucks them all, folks.
And
Read
good
this
for
novel.
her, .jpg.
.gif, hang on a minute. Oh my god!
Just like that scene in Amelie.
Love that scene. Yes, this is adapted for the screen by Peter Stone, who is most famous perhaps for Charade in 1963, but also did important script writing work for The Taking of Pelham 123 for my sake, because I love that movie. Yep. That's the only one I really recognize. And that's it. He also wrote, I believe, the musical 1776, a musical I have not heard of, but is apparently important enough to take up an entire section of his Wikipedia page, so...
Was it like the pre-Hamilton? What's going on?
Maybe it was the white perspective of Hamilton. Nobody went. A historical musical comedy drama set in Philadelphia in the summer of 1776. Yeah, this genuinely fictionalized account of the events leading up to the signing of the Declaration of Independence. Excellent.
Yeah, white people Hamilton.
Yeah.
We should watch that
go.
next.
Jesus Christ.
You can't make me.
Now, the film was directed by someone who did have, previous in comedy, having made Fun with Dick and Jane. Billy Two Hats is an amazing name for a comedy film, but I believe it's a Western. He would go on to make Weekend at Bernie's, quite bizarrely.
Oh.
But perhaps more inexplicably, he directed First Blood, the first Rambo movie.
What?
Yeah.
And that's what we call range.
Yeah, that's range. That's full range right there.
And he also directed Wake and Fright, one of the absolute shining gems of the newest Australian New Wave. A really disturbing movie about a school teacher who goes to the outback and encounters Donald Pleasance and chaos ensues. It's excellent. It's really tense. It's almost unbearably tense.
Ooh.
And it came from the director of Who Killed All the Chefs in Europe, or whatever it is.
of whatever the fuck this is called.
Too many chefs.
We need to talk about the chefs of Europe.
Are you there, God? It's me, all the great chefs of Europe.
Weekend at Chefs of Europe. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Oh, Christ. Well, look, critics did not feel the film had eaten its way to the top. Now, I find myself at the BFI library again, just like last week, and do I dare take half an hour out of my precious dissertation research time to look into this film? Yes, I do. So, this written for Variety. Now, Variety at the time, from what I can see, is kind of like advertising or writing about a movie for the sake of like exhibitors or people who want to invest in the movie in the future. Because quite often it's written in a very prospective way, talking about potential audiences. So here's their write-up from the Toronto Festival in the 20th of September 1978. Here we go. Who is Killing the Great Chefs of Europe is as happy a combination of the macabre and the merry as the screen has seen in a long, long time. It's a fast-moving, witty film, beautifully cast, with a large group of international professionals who give full justice to Peter Stone's adaptation of Nan and Ivan Leon's novel, Someone is Killing the Great Chefs of Europe. Terrible title brackets. So, Stone has taken liberties with Leon's novel, including a change in villains, but his major contribution has been to provide a smart, fast dialogue that such a practiced farceur, Seagal, and a jaded sophisticate like Morley would have spoken. It's a funny film and at the same time an engrossing one. It would find success quickly in the general market, and its international flair makes it a natural for export.
Oh.
Ooh, a
Natural for export.
Brackets, you may want to do something about the title before you do so.
I mean, listen, they're not wrong.
I enjoy Mr. Seagal being described as a farceur.
A farceur.
Farceur.
I'm confused. I feel like they might have watched a different film. Like, I don't know whether witty is the word I'd come up with when describing this film.
Robert Morley says things in a swishy way.
In a swishy way. He's quite
swishy. In a swishy way. He's very swishy. Therefore, I felt it was quite witty. It was said with the cadence of something that might be witty.
It was said with the cadence of possibly being witty, yeah.
To someone, somewhere.
Meanwhile, the New York Times, Walter Kerr writes, "The film you see is an uneasy mix, like a salad dressing, the ingredients which haven't quite agreed to come together." I hate it when that happens when you're making salad.
This guy's making salad dressings wrong. Has anyone told him?
They shouldn't be alive when you're doing it, like, as a rule. It's not like you get a chicken and you try and introduce it to some fucking, like,
go on then.
Fucking Caesar salad, you know? Yeah, look. This is where you live.
Already. You do your bit. Of broad comedy and murder rampant. Director Kotcheff and screenwriter Peter Stone simply haven't decided on an emphasis for their two-tone film. Obviously, it's possible to combine merriment and mayhem. It's been done often enough. But one vein or another, the suspense or the gagging has got to be dominant if we're to know how to respond, and so ride along. It's terrible when you just like,
when you
wait
just
a minute,
don't
is
know
this
whether...
a funny part?
I just don't know whether to laugh or cry, you know?
Well, I hate submissive gagging. It's terrible.
Come on, guys.
Least favourite kink.
You can't really top from the bottom here. You've got to...
You just got to make a decision.
Here we go. Seagal in particular plays half-heartedly, and his romance with Miss Blissett stops and starts through the film's motor, as though the film's motor were on the verge of stalling. Oh dear.
Wow.
Oh dear. And one last thing I wanted to read was from Films and Filming in the February 1979 issue, which features Tom Berenger on the cover in the phrase, "In praise of older women."
Oh.
Tom Berenger.
Let's go.
Tom Berenger knows what he likes. Here we go. The final paragraph of this. Bissett is at her most effective, that's the female lead, in these final scenes when she's portraying a classy lassie in dire trouble. Part of the film's failure to be as intriguing as it deserves is her inability to convince as a sexy, madcap, crazy comedy heroine. She has a nice way with the odd tart rejoinder, no pun of any kind intended, but funny lady she just ain't. Who is these days? Young and pretty enough to justify Seagal's frenzied pursuit. The adroit comedian is reduced to frenetic excesses to remedy her deficiency. It's really a case of who has disposed of the great comedians of the cinema. Father Time?
Because women just aren't funny, am I right?
Women just aren't funny. And I did find George Segal to be hamming it up in this in a way that I didn't entirely like. I didn't correctly attribute, though, that was actually the woman's fault.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, correct.
Clearly her fault. Clearly her fault.
Clearly.
He was making up for her deficiencies, you see.
Yeah.
Take that, Jacqueline Bissett.
Yeah.
Public felt the divorce was too good to last, but I didn't look up any reviews, so I guess we'll just have to take my word for that.
Sure. Find Google reviews live on podcast, Paul. Let's go.
No!
Worst possible scenario.
I'm going to read the very first one I see. Right, what's this movie called?
Who is killing the great chefs in Europe? Maybe?
Be the hardest episode. Okay. Oh my god, wow. Okay, first review by Leonard Geist 3 years ago. This film is really great! 4 exclamation marks. Great actors, good picture, lots of action, very funny. Jacqueline Bissett in her prime, beautiful! 3 exclamation marks. Brackets translated by Google from German.
Oh.
The film is ganz großartig.
I mean, fair.
God.
Look,
That is curious at the very first review. Is it because a lot of people found it helpful? No, nobody found that helpful. So
It's just recent. Quote.
Newish.
3 years ago is,
To be fair, it was done. It was in the 70s, and it's not. I'm not going to say it's a well-known 70s film, particularly.
Yeah.
No, in as much as your two fellow podcast hosts did genuinely think you were asking as a question,
Yeah.
an accusatory question, when
Yeah, I thought I was about to get like a banger documentary recommendation.
Yeah, look.
Like a video essay on who is indeed killing all the great chefs in Europe. But here I
conspiracy theory
am,
for the ages.
having watched this movie instead.
I like to sneak in my horrifying 70s films where I can. 70s, 80s. Anything that's just not relevant at all anymore is what I want to do.
Yeah.
Obscuria of the past is what I come to you for. So, Helen and Becs, you masterpieces. What's something about who is killing the best chefs in Europe that you'd consider to be adultery? By which I mean, Helen, how? What?
Why? Very specifically.
So, am I allowed to speak to the reason why we're on the podcast right now?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so you messaged me saying, let's do a podcast. I was like, yeah, dope.
Yay.
Have you got something in mind? And you're like, no, not at all. I was hoping you did. So I went to my husband's pub chat because I couldn't be asked going to the pub. Otherwise, I would have sat at the pub and just tried to overhear some films, as I normally do. But instead, I went to our pub WhatsApp and was like, so, anyone seen any shit films recently? Pretty much. And one of those options was this chef film
Whatever
that I can't name.
Unnamed chef film.
Unnamed chef film. I'm gonna give credit to Mark, who is also like he's a big film buff and he watches almost everything ever. Apparently his basement is filled with films.
Yes.
Sounds like you two should hang out, Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
That's
think
all
you might
basements should
actually get on quite nicely, to be fair. He's a lovely man. But yeah, so that was his recommendation for a shit film he's seen recently.
Absolutely stunning. And then Bex is here.
And also, I'm here.
Yeah.
I almost wasn't,
Almost wasn't. We will get into that.
but I am.
Yes. There was a moment where Helen recommended something and I was like, oh god, the entire Roll Plus Heart team needs to be here for this.
Yeah.
So we took it to the group, but unfortunately the other Roll Plus half
Yeah.
were not available. And I was like, well, we should hold off because I really want all of you to see this. As Bex well knows why, because you've seen it,
Yes,
right?
I've seen and reviewed it before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, you have. Yes. So we got to get into that. Don't look out for that one, folks. But yes, this was a wonderful plan B. And let us get into how we watched it. I watched it on a dodgy Russian website in stunning 240p.
Yeah. It's gorgeous. I realised halfway through, I was like, why is it so dark? And then I realised it was my fault. My screen was on dim, and then I could see it for the rest of the film, so that was nice.
Oh, cool. So you'll be a very sort of second half heavy player in the plot rundown.
One would think so, wouldn't one?
And I'm continuing my tradition of watching things in the most chaotic way possible, in that when Paul texted me this morning and said, is everyone still on for 1 p.m? I was streaming on Twitch at the time because I hadn't put this in my diary. And if something isn't in my diary, it doesn't exist. So I thought, I've got nothing to do today. I'm going to stream on Twitch. I was streaming kind of like co-working. So I was like, oh man, okay. So what I'll do is my microphone is muted when we're in like focus periods, and then we have little breaks. So I'll just watch it in the focus periods on my mobile. And we'll just live that way. But then it turns out that the link did not, in fact, work on mobile. So I had to end stream and then watch it at 1.5 times speed on the same dodgy Russian website.
But there you are. A magical time was
but you
had
know
by
what?
all of you.
I made it
Yeah.
with 25 minutes to spare. Everyone spoke
Unbelievable.
very quickly.
I was still watching it about 10 minutes ago. I think. Well,
Yeah, so we've
you
really
know,
had
like
a lot
half
of
an hour ago.
time to digest
Yeah.
this and
Yeah.
think about it, you know.
Yeah. So let's get into it then with this expert, concise but very complete rundown of what happens in Who is Killing Too Many Cooks in Europe.
Who is spoiling the broth by killing too many cooks in Europe?
Never kill too many cooks whilst drinking orange juice in the hood.
Kill too many cooks with one stone. Yeah.
Killing Too Many Cooks 2 Electric Boogaloo.
We all know
classic.
exactly what we were watching.
We know what that film was.
We all watch the same movie, guys.
Yep.
And the movie starts, and oh my god, Peter Sallis, Joss Ackland, John LeMisere. This is an all-star cast, damn it.
If
The
you
gold
say so, I've
standard.
never heard of any of these people.
Yeah, no, same, if I'm being really honest.
These are the gold standard of British television. You got Sergeant Wilson from Dad's Army.
Oh,
You've
really?
got, yeah, that's John LeMisere.
Oh,
You've
okay.
got fucking voice of Wallace.
Oh,
That's
really?
Peter Sallis, yeah. He's
What?
the TV host at the end.
Miss O'Brien. Ah, yes. I've admired you for years.
Thank you.
No one understands egg yolks the way you do.
One or two chickens, perhaps.
Ah.
What?
Dang.
That's madness. I did not know that. I knew none of these things coming into it. Or
Well,
after.
this kind of trivia and more coming up immediately. Joss Ackland is maybe a little trickier. Has anyone seen Lethal Weapon 2?
Yes.
He's the diplomatic immunity guy.
Oh.
And he'll, just show up in a scene for a bit, as does everyone else.
That's nice.
So, Robert Morley is on his way to set before filming has started, I've written. That's quite mean. This just seems like what Robert Morley's all about.
Yeah.
Skeffington, what the devil is that?
It's an idea I had for our January cover, Mr. Vanderveer.
It is a monstrosity. That wouldn't stimulate the appetite of a starving boa constrictor. I want flesh, you Philistine. Flesh, or it's back to passport photos where you belong. Oh, that's simply charming, dear. Take 1 star away from Chez Auguste. I dined there last night and generated more gas than the Middle East produces in a month.
Ah, Mr. Vanderveer.
What is it now, Bussington?
I've just had an absolute brainstorm for our Easter issue. What would you think to recreating the menu of the Last Supper?
Brainstorm is right. That is, without doubt, Buzzingdale, the single most tasteless, vulgar, and macabre suggestion it has ever been my misfortune to hear. What next, I wonder? The Andes plane crash cookbook?
I appreciated the really flattering angle it started with. Let's go from the ground and just really look at the weight of this man.
Let's take it in.
And then I very quickly didn't mind because he's an absolute horrible arsehole, so...
He is. He's nasty too. He runs a culinary magazine, I believe.
Yeah.
Yes, which specializes in bizarre features. Although he shoots down most of them, including a piece about the dinner at the Last Supper.
Reconstructing the menu.
Yeah. Which I think is quite cool. I kind of like that idea.
Yeah, let's go. I mean, what were they having?
I'd
Bread,
eat
fish, and
it.
wine, I assume.
Well, yeah, like, I don't think it's going to be the most haute cuisine that Jesus was having. But
He wasn't picky, Jesus.
it wasn't picky.
Famously, you know.
And yeah, he compares this to the idea of recreating a menu around the Andes plane crash.
Yeah.
Similar in tones. Which would have been quite contemporary to this, I think.
Fucking hell. My thing was, what was the jar of peanut butter? What, is that so offensive?
Oh,
I wasn't quite clear on this. Did someone have peanut butter in their desk? Is that why he fired her? I'm very unclear on what was going on.
Also, he did. I think it's meant to be an anti-American sentiment on his part.
Well, like, peanut butter's really key in so many cuisines as well. It's like, I don't know whether you've noticed
and
the
he
other
then
half
tried
of the world
something
or
which
no.
he said he liked, and it had peanut butter in it.
Yeah.
Well, indeed. Yeah.
That's life.
Oh, God. That is life. And that's, I've been fired for less. And things that I care less passionately about.
Yep.
So, I'd rather get canned for the movies, for the food that's in my desk any day of the week. But anyway, this film proves to be a stealth sequel to The King's Speech I've written, although I can't remember why. Oh, that's it, because there's some reference made to preparing a meal, apologizing to the Queen for having introduced her uncle to Wallace Simpson. Yeah. So this is a follow-up to all that, focusing on his vengeance. No, he's what's he doing? He's involved in some sort of meal for the Queen that involves
He's put together.
Yeah, I think he's curated it.
Basically. He's curated the menu, or at least chosen the chefs.
Yes,
for the Queen's
together.
Dinner, basically.
But this is not the menu and roster for which these people will be killed. That has already gone out on a separate issue. Yes. Spoiler alert. So, also simultaneously to this, we have a sequence where a regular American is being an absolutely standard American to Nigel Havering. Bizarre cameo. He goes into a vegan restaurant and just causes chaos.
Howdy, everybody. Howdy, man. Howdy. Yes, sir, we do all our own slaughtering right on the premises. We do what? Slaughtering. Well, that's what makes Texas burgers so fresh. The burger you eat today was on the hoof this morning. That was on mine.
Shouts about beef a lot.
What puzzles me is like where does this fit in the story? Is my question.
I think he
doing an omelette empire, isn't he?
Yeah, he wants to buy that shop. He wants to buy the restaurant.
Right.
In order to put one of his omelette palaces in it.
So he's trying to put them out of business by
he tries
yelling about beef.
Yes, he wants to find a way to make the owner of the vegan restaurant consider selling, which he does by dressing as a cowboy and going and talking about slaughtering beef next door.
He's our hero, folks.
Yeah, he is. He's the character we're rooting for, apparently.
I will say, I wrote down, before he walked in and started pretending to be a really obnoxious American, I wrote down, this is the most American-looking man I've ever seen. And then was like, I see. He's doing it on purpose.
I mean, to be fair,
well done, sir.
like the Texan accent was genuinely terrible. I was like, oh, is this an English person pretending to be Texan? And I was like, oh no, okay.
No, it's an American pretending to be a different American.
But it was a terrible Texan accent.
It was pretty bad.
Okay.
Yeah, love that. So Sergeant Wilson shows up to inform real-life Robert Morley that he's unwell and he needs to stop eating so much.
Apparently, he has to remove his overcoat to hear this news. For some reason.
Please, not in an overcoat.
You can't let the overcoat hear this.
I wouldn't let you receive this blow whilst wearing an overcoat. And we get introduced to our heroine, a dynamic young woman. Oh, she's so willful and cool, and she's immediately kidnapped. Bother.
Can I go now?
In a minute. I want to show you something.
Robbie, they call this kidnapping. Of course, it goes so well with your other sterling qualities, like adultery. Let's not forget adultery.
Come on, Nat. You can't call a roll in the hay with your secretary adultery.
And what would you call it? Shorthand?
I don't even remember her name.
Vicky with 2 Ks and no brassiere.
There's a food fight. The beginning of this movie is just
It's
madness.
a bit of
chaotic.
isn't it?
I don't know what's happening. And I thought food fight in a professional kitchen. I am actually genuinely going to have to ask Craig if that's ever happened to him. Whether that's a thing that ever happens ever.
Come on.
Like when he worked for a Michelin-starred place, whether he had a food fight in that kitchen or no.
This is the great series finale to The Bear.
Yeah, so it's like there's just 2 chefs. One of them is there because he's going to be cooking for the Queen.
Yeah.
Yes.
So our horribly overweight culinary critic is talking to him about that, and then another chef comes up to to be like, why didn't you put me in your list of greatest chefs?
Yeah.
And then there's a food fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chef Herring Rouge.
I don't know
his name.
anybody's name in this. I'm going to go ahead and let you know that now. Not a one.
Would have been a lot classier a joke if I knew the French for herring.
A French chef literally hit someone over the face with a baguette, and I think that's all you need to know about that scene.
This is cinema.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Dear.
So yes, it turns out she's been kidnapped by her ex-husband, who is the evil American bloke who's doing a terrible food venture.
And
And,
that's
Again.
not a red flag.
She spends the scene trying to take the moral high ground whilst wearing a small menagerie.
Of like foxtails just draped around her.
I was thinking that as well, actually. I did like the touch that she was like, the cheating really didn't bother us as much as he let the lady use his kitchen.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, yeah, that's the sort
That
of shit
checks
that
out.
Craig would say that absolutely. It's like, I don't care if you slept with him, you let him use the fucking kitchen.
Oh God. So yes, they go to Buckingham Palace, and those French with their sexual harassment. Although it does work later on. As it does with the
he's
American,
famously
because-
Swiss.
And with the Italian later,
Is he
too.
Swiss?
Yeah, he's the Swiss
Oh,
one.
God. Okay, he's Swiss. He's the Swiss one. Yes, that's right. We're coming to the French one later
Yeah, the
on.
French one's later. Yeah.
Okay, well, don't worry, because my next note is, those Americans with their sexual harassment. And
Everyone's
I believe-
sexually harassing our heroine for the entire film.
All the time, constantly.
love it. That was the 70s, folks.
Yep.
So they get off with each other. They cook a thing for the queen, and it goes well. They cook a big pie, a load of little pigeon pie things, and a big cake that looks like sheer madness.
A bomb.
A bomb.
Le bomb.
B-O-M-B-E.
Yeah. Fuck yeah. So they prepare that, and the queen seems to like it. It's very hard to imagine the queen chowing down on all this shit. And also, was this what all of her meals were like?
I like the implication that she... I think at some point they were crossing other courses off of a board to
Yeah.
imply that there was more,
4
but
of
it does kind of imply that the queen just ate a pigeon and then a cake.
Yeah.
I'm all about that.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
I think that's the only way to eat, really, isn't it? Pigeon first, cake later.
I write the note, oh, finally, somebody's dead. We could get started with the premise. Oh, never mind, it's just Robert Morley.
Oh, dear.
He is but sleeping.
He is but sleeping. Nobody's dead yet. Yeah, so she fucks the French guy. And, someone finally dead now? No, oh, Christ. But then, yes, he goes down to the kitchen and someone stuffs him in an oven.
And it's clearly the cat. The cat is... But the
Yeah.
implication
the
of this
cat's
scene is
implied
that the
to
cat
be some
is
sort
murdering.
of evil supernatural being in this scenario.
I thought this was going somewhere very different. I was like, okay, I'm fully on board with this film now. So, yeah, that happens, and she gets investigated by the police for a little bit. Standard American man is here to be inconspicuous. And, yeah, I think after that, it's time for the next foreigner.
Yep.
So off
Next-
she goes to Venice.
Next foreigner to pinch her on the butt. Classic
Yeah.
foreigners.
And she gets sexually harassed again. And it seems to be working again.
Yeah, again,
Yep,
for some
she's-
reason.
She shows up to get off with him, but unfortunately the killer made it there first this time. And, it's like a giallo.
Shoved him in a lobster tank.
Yeah.
A policeman
Yes,
turns
drowned
up
him
and
this time.
sexually harasses her.
Yep, the cop comes on to her.
Wonderful. So happy that this is happening.
But oh no, her ex-husband's pencil has been found at the scene.
Uh-oh.
Could
God,
he
this is
be
so
the guilty
incriminating.
party?
Unfortunately not. So, yeah, she goes off to meet an assortment of Frenchmen.
Yep.
Yeah, her
In order
ex-husband for some reason is like, let's just solve this.
Let's get all these French
Yeah.
people here.
So he gets
And
the best 6 chefs in France together to just have a chat with them, I guess.
Yeah, because before working out the rationale that it's the magazine, they just figure, well, they've killed the best chef in England, the Swiss guy, the best chef in Italy, and also, I love that self-awareness that it wouldn't be an Englishman.
No. The best chef in England is
Come on,
not
guys.
an Englishman.
No,
Let's
not
be
English.
honest here.
Yeah.
Especially
It's
in
like
the 70s. Jesus Christ.
Oh, jeez. Well, it's like that viral clip, isn't it, where someone's like, Britain is the worst cooking in the world. And it's like, we have got more Michelin stars than any other city in the world. And what are they cooking? French.
I will say,
Oh,
yeah, in the most I was painfully remembered. No, that sentence didn't work. I was painfully reminded that this was set in the 70s with just the sheer amount of times the word aspic was used.
It was an aspic-y time.
What are you talking about? Aspic is still going. It's still good.
Still so
good.
popular. Love me an
Yum, yum,
aspic
yum, yum.
jelly for lunch.
Yum.
Peas floating in clear, savoury jelly.
I'm gonna put
Was
aspic
aspic-
on my toast, on my Melba toast. Normal.
Was aspic like the insulation stuff that we're not supposed to use anymore? Did we find out that it was incredibly radioactive or something?
Probably. I think eventually everyone was just like, I know it looks cool, but it is kind of gross.
I like aspic. I don't know.
Okay, well, Helen's wrong.
Look. I married a chef for a reason, because he can make me aspic if I so desire.
Yeah, but
Because
does he
society's not
make
willing to cater for that
does
need.
he make 70s aspic abominations?
No.
That's like all the ingredients of a quiche floating in an aspic jelly.
No, but I wish he would.
Note
Helen's
to
next
birthday,
birthday,
I'm never
which-
letting Helen cook for me.
Becs will not be attending Helen's
I've
next
already
birthday.
cooked for you.
I know. And now I'm suspicious of what you put in there.
It was
There's
all
aspic
aspic.
in there.
It was all aspic. I like that risotto I made out of aspic. Not gonna lie to you, just full aspic. Aspic risotto.
Coloured aspect throughout. One day when Helen finally gets the revenge, Becs just floating in aspect. Oh God.
What were we up to?
Yeah, what's happening
Well,
in this film?
At this stage, I'm losing patience with it because I'm like, oh yeah, Robert Morley's in this movie. You gonna eat your fucking dogs again, champ? Because he did that in Theatre of Blood.
Oh my!
Getting annoyed with all of it. So yes, they figure out that it's a menu that's killing them off. Basically, the magazine put out a ideal meal, very much like that off-menu podcast, except in the 70s. It was, each course would be prepared by a different chef, and they're being killed in the order they appeared in the magazine.
Mm-hmm.
So, they figure out who's going to be next and rush there just in time to find them hanging from a meat hook.
Ah,
No, he's not supposed to be next.
Oh no, he's not supposed to be next. You're right.
Yeah, because
this
he wasn't
proves her
on the
wrong.
menu.
Yes, and so they're like, you were wrong,
The
heroine of this movie.
The menu thing is wrong. Don't worry, heroine, who was incidentally the dessert chef in this ideal menu. You're
Oh, yes.
not going to die after all because
You can
this
let your guard
guy
down.
wasn't on the menu, so you're fine.
Yeah, everything's fine, and you're wrong. We should have known. You are, after all, only a woman.
But then
what has happened?
Oh God!
it turns out the next guy on the menu did die.
Yeah, and he
Oh,
got
no.
his head in a duck press, which is horrifying.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest,
That
I
is
don't think it would have
grim.
fit, but
I mean, I suppose if you cut it up a bit, I guess that might.
It's the
quite
I
hard to
don't-
cut up a head.
I don't think you could kill someone using the duck
Speak from
press.
experience.
I
It's
think
one
you
of
could
the
do it
more-
afterwards.
It's one of the more solid parts of the body.
Well, I feel like you can just take the brain and put it in there, and then take the skin off the face and put that in there as well, and just.
I'm
debone.
gonna say no on a taking as the only person here who has peeled a face off.
I think that's fair.
For real. It's
No more
quite
context
difficult
needed there.
actually. You've really got to go in with a scalpel and you can't just like peel it off. It's quite
Yeah.
difficult.
Okay,
Doesn't just come
fair.
off like off of John Travolta and Nicolas Cage. You got to really get your elbow grease in there.
You genuinely do. And it makes a weird Velcro noise.
And also, at the
Hmm.
point you've done all of that, I feel like you would no longer say he was killed by having his head crushed in a press.
Well,
That's
that's
like-
it, isn't it? Yeah, it's not. You're not really. I feel like you have to just cut off half of his head or something. Put his head in there and hope some of it comes off.
Yeah.
Maybe
Hard to
like
say.
what we saw was like a weird kind of like smoothie maker thing. Maybe you could take that part off and the press will just work. Kind of.
Yeah,
own. Anyway.
maybe.
He's been killed by someone and you don't know who it is. Although the last person we saw with said press was Robert Morley.
Oh, having his delicious pressed duck.
Yeah,
Oh, no.
and he was looking
It's
delighted by blood.
Even though he's on a diet, which is kind of a key thing that I don't think we've really mentioned.
That's true.
We
yeah.
hit it once. So he said that Sergeant Wilson told him he was going to die.
Oh
And
yeah.
speaking of beloved TV icons, the Wallace shows up of Anne Gromit fame. He's hosting a TV cooking show that I would watch the shit out of with his dulcet tones.
Yeah.
And basically he wants to demonstrate on the show the bomber that what's her name made for the Queen, and so comes and picks up the cake in order to take it to the TV studio, which gives her enough time to sleep with American Man before. Hooray!
Joy, he's gonna die. No.
we get. Oh yeah, true. This woman is like the Black Widow. Just
she is. I'm gonna go ahead and say it. She's like Sam Winchester in Supernatural. If you sleep with her, you die.
Oh, that's sad.
Love that.
Yeah, guy had a rough 12 seasons.
Oh my god.
Or like Rogue from X-Men, I guess.
Or like,
yeah, but it's funnier that Sam Winchester's like it's not supernatural. It's just that apparently if you touch his dick, you die. Just because everyone who ever does.
Or Slothrop from Gravity's Rainbow. Literary.
I don't know what that is.
illusion there.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
What's his name? Jerome Slothrop? Whenever he sleeps with someone, a bomb is dropped there immediately, sort of shortly after. And it's because of a scientific experiment that was conducted when he was a child to become sexually aroused by loud noises, which is now working in antegrade. Gravity's Rainbow is a very good novel.
It sounds like madness to me.
It's incredible. Anyway, big chase happens where yes, our main character is convinced now. Our main character, oh god, American Man is convinced that the bomb is going to explode. The bomber.
The bomber is a bomb.
Yeah,
the bomber is a bomb, and so he's racing around a television studio making what I presume is a bunch of contemporary references that I don't get.
Yeah, I kind of assumed that too. I was like,
what's happening?
The only thing where I was like, I understand what's happening here is when he bursts in on like a sitcom where they're having the exact same argument that he had with Our Lady when they were out dancing, word
That's
for word.
quite good.
Yeah,
that is good. They stop the bomb, and then I've written the note because I'm writing this as it's happening. They catch Robert Morley, and he dies the way we'd all hoped to.
Yeah, surrounded by food.
Yeah, it was a moment where
face down in a pile of cream.
But it turns out that I actually managed to guess this halfway through because I did write, I wonder if the maid is doing this in order to keep him on his diet. And that proved to be correct.
Yeah.
My mother, when I predicted that out loud, my mother said, well, that is absurd enough to be correct. She was right.
She makes a full confession and he hiccups himself back to life.
Yeah, he's fine. And we get the worst ending because she ends up with George Segal. Can we start a new game?
Getting married in an omelette place.
Yeah,
God.
It was, and in Chef Whites as well.
Chef Whites,
I can't imagine someone wanting to get married in Chef Whites. Like, it just seems implausible.
At this point, at the very kind of last frame of the film, I'm sitting there being like, this feels like a weird marketing ploy from an omelette restaurant. Like, this feels like the kind of thing they would do in the 70s where they're like, let's make a movie, right? And right at the end, they've opened up this amazing, because they're being like, we promise to use only fresh ingredients in our omelettes.
Butter, no margarine.
Yeah. And I bet this was one big advert for a failed omelette empire.
To be fair, I'm surprised butter wasn't mentioned in mine and Craig's vows. It's quite key to our relationship.
I'm not going to delve into that.
God damn it, though. How did we end up romancing this character? We tried so hard. We spoke to every other character more than him.
Yep.
And slept with several of them.
Really thought we'd lock down the not American guy ending.
Yep.
But
all roads lead to American guy.
No.
Truth.
And so we find out who was in fact killing the great chefs of Europe.
Some woman.
Someone's maid.
Someone's maid.
Yep.
Right. So, what do we think? What do we think of that in our varied viewing states?
I thought it was offensive to almost everyone who wasn't, like...
An American.
An American.
Well, no, Americans too, actually.
No, it was offensive to everyone, I think, wasn't it? To be fair.
I think so.
At least it was offensive to everyone, you know?
True.
I did.
There was no main character.
I did, like... in many parts, I was like, what a dick portrayal, but I was really quite viscerally uncomfortable with the portrayal of his driver, his black driver.
Yeah, that was really...
Who he just kept calling nonsense names and who didn't have a voice. He just
mumbled.
No. There's
made
one scene
noises.
his driver drops him off, and then he's immediately sort of handing his coat to another black guy who's like in a service thing because he works for the doctor's office,
and it's like
Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
and they don't speak in words; they just make noises, and I was like,
yeah, that was the most offensive part of the film.
Yeah,
but it didn't.
Apart from that, I thought the pacing was dreadful, and I was watching it at 1.5 times speed. So like,
no, this movie, it gets off to a slow start. There's a bit of interest where things pick up a bit. Basically, everything from the cooking the dinner for the Queen to the Venetian guy ending up dead. Mm-hmm. That little segment has a relatively good sort of movement to it. It kind of keeps you going. There's enough happening. It's interesting. And then as soon as they get to France, it slows down again. And it kind of remains incredibly slow until the finale. So there's a good, 30-minute sequence in this 2-hour movie that I thought was well-paced. So that was not ideal.
No, not the ratio you'd hope for.
No, not really. I think Furiosa has the opposite ratio. I think there's like half an hour of that thing where I was like, this is a bit slow. And it's like, holy shit. And that was the movie I also watched yesterday. So
that was your main comparison.
Yeah, that's my main point of comparison for all of cinema now.
Nice.
I enjoy the theory of I love a satirical murder film.
Yeah,
you know,
like Knives
they're great
Out.
Fun. Yeah, they're great
Yeah.
fun. I'm very excited to see they've just announced a third one of those.
Yes.
That is exciting.
Dead Man something.
It's like
a
Wake
U2
Up
reference.
Dead Man.
Wake Up Dead Man, that's it.
Because I wasn't sure whether I was supposed to be reading it as Wake Up, Dead Man, or like Wake Up Dead Man. And I'm excited to find out which of those it is.
The comma could be after the dead.
Yeah.
Wake Up Dead, man.
Exactly. Punctuation's important. So yeah, in theory, I love a satirical kind of farcical murder film.
Yeah, no,
I find
they're
them really good fun. But I think this one did not go hard enough on its premise for it to end up being like as entertaining as it could have been. And it just kind of felt like a lot of characters were just like there. I speak of mostly American Man.
Yes,
he was there.
Was not great. I thought I liked Jacqueline Bisset when she shows up.
Yeah,
and she's sort of striding through the airport in a very long sequence for some reason. Again, pacing issues. I liked her, and I liked her manner. I've got several quotes from her as like good things that I'll talk about later. Like I liked her, but then she ends up taking such a back seat to George Segal as American Man. And yes, I did find him hammy and over the top, and I didn't. It made so much sense to me if he was just either going to be a villain or somebody who shows up dead.
Yeah,
like his intro sequence with the chicken, the vegan place. That is so how you introduce one of the red herrings.
Yeah.
In this fucking thing.
Yeah, because you're like, oh, what a mean bastard man. He could be a murderer.
Yep, or a victim. Like, it's Dave Bautista from, Glass Onion.
Yeah.
You just introduce this hyper-toxic guy who's kind of funny in his ridiculousness. Like, you don't expect that to then be the leading guy, and he doesn't really tone it down for the rest of the movie as he becomes the sort of romantic lead.
I mean, what puzzled...
Romantic, I think, is questionable.
Well, in terms of his service in the plot.
What puzzled me the entire time was all of it was hammy and silly and kind of unbelievable. But the most unbelievable thing was the fact that she was willing to sleep with any of these men, honestly.
Well, I kind of like that about her a little bit. The fact that these guys are ridiculous. They keep blowing up and stuff, but she's going to get hers.
Yeah.
For the most part, I know it's problematic to talk about, like, what the character wants when they've been written by a guy. But nevertheless, the fact that she seemed to portray a fair amount of sexual agency, and... Because often what you'll get in a movie like this is that our female lead will be inexplicably drawn to our main character, and then resistant to all the other guys who essentially use the exact same tactics as our main character, but they're portrayed as being creepy whilst our main guy is just assertive
It's
and manly.
just romantic.
It's like she lives in a world where all guys are like this, so she's gonna
have sex with some of them.
Yeah.
The ones she likes.
And you know what? She's gonna have sex with the ones who are gonna cook her an incredible breakfast afterwards.
I mean, that's
she gets
fair.
right on. She gets right on that as well.
Yeah.
This guy.
She's like, make me breakfast, bitch.
I love her just swanning into the kitchen. Do you need me to do anything? Whip any eggs or anything?
Yeah. Definitely timing it as like, he must have finished cooking now. Nothing I can possibly do.
I appreciate that she was like, "Oh, it smells good. A bit burnt, maybe," and it's like, "Whoa, okay."
Listen, she's a chef.
Yeah. She's a fucking chef. She knows what she's doing. Helen, how did you find it overall?
Yeah, I'd say my thing is you feel like you're just bouncing between one hammy character to the next hammy character, and then there's another hammy character who's interjecting with that hammy character, and it like I as much as like I don't know, I didn't hate it, I didn't love it. It was some kind of melange of ham. It was like eating a lot of ham.
It was a ham melange.
Yeah,
it's how it would be listed on the menu.
It was ham aspic. Is what that was.
The sheer horror passing over Becs' face.
I'm aspic. Yeah, that is what it felt like. It was just quite, it was alright. I didn't hate it.
Yeah.
Hated parts of it, but
Yeah, I think that's it. Alright, well, with a perfectly fine... I think in terms of ranking the Helens that we've had, I would say Buckaroo Banzai's better.
Yeah.
What else was it? There was... I think I like this. Oh God, did I like this better than Devil? Maybe a little. No, Devil. No, Devil's more consistent tonally, I think.
Yeah, and the pacing is a bit better in Devil, to be fair.
The pacing is great in Devil, to be fair. I think Devil's a little better. What was the fourth?
Plowman's Lunch. Plowman's Lunch.
I think I preferred this to Plowman's Lunch.
Yeah, Plowman's Lunch was just very dour, though. That was just like,
yeah,
it was just like, tromping through fields. That's what fucking Plowman's Lunch was.
being sad at a fucking Tory party conference.
Oh dear.
Oh God.
Yep. No, I think
I don't know how it plays into the Becs picks, but it's hard to call this a Becs picks when basically it was a Becs pick between this and another movie that Helen suggested.
Yeah, and honestly, listen, I'm gonna go ahead and rank anything that's ever had Jason Statham in it above this.
Fair.
Sorry, Helen.
I know that's completely fair, and I probably would agree with you if I'm being really honest.
Or Megan Fox.
Or Megan Fox.
Hard to argue. All right, well look, let's get to quick firing. Quick fire.
Pew, pew, pew.
Now, I was so confident I would remember the context in which this is said that I wouldn't have to write down any context, but nevertheless, all I've written down is great, full stop, fat, full stop, bastard, full stop.
That is what the secretary says right after he walks past her and is like, "You're fired."
Great fat bastard.
That's
Great
it,
fat
you great
bastard.
fat bastard.
Yeah,
I think I
with
just like the
such
delivery.
real conviction that I have to assume that he was her real boss. And she was genuinely getting fired.
That was her getting fired from the movie.
Yeah.
Great fat bastard.
Best actor in that film.
She really tapped into something there.
Yeah, she did. She knew what she was doing.
Becs?
I really enjoyed during the food fight the first kind of throw of each of them. They both threw something and then had this look on their face of like, what have I done? What will the consequences of this be? And I just really enjoyed that like facial acting before it devolved into just smacking each other with baguettes.
Yep.
That's really good.
That is true. I'm gonna
Helen?
I'm gonna skip back a little bit, and as much as this is an offensive joke, he described a meal as more gas than the Middle East produces in a month. Like I appreciate that as a farting joke. So I'll give him that.
Yeah, I like that because some of his wry comments were quite fun, if a little iffy politically these days. But nevertheless, you kind of it feels like what he would say.
Yeah, it feels
just a bit like
correct to the character at least. Like he is an
100%.
arsehole. He's saying arsehole-y things. It makes sense.
Yeah. I enjoyed it. This is the first woman of Bissett's line of Bissett's is that she says, I think he said to her, something about being her husband and him and her being his wife.
This was my next one, Paul.
She correct.
Hey, is it a crime for a husband to want to see his wife?
Ex-husband, ex-wife, and excuse me, but I happen to have a very important appointment.
That is a good line. That is a good line.
That is good. You got to give credit to that.
Stunning.
Yeah, that was my next one.
Yeah.
I very much enjoyed her delivery. I have to say, I don't have a huge number of these, by the way.
No worries.
But I really enjoyed when they were cooking for the Queen. I really enjoyed the man in his chef outfit, but also with his medal, his epaulettes, and his little white gloves. Like they were like, how does a weird military butler dress? Now put them in chef's whites, but keep all the fun bits. And he was just constantly had like a
little glass of
snifter
wine,
of brandy in his hand, and I was like,
brilliant.
what a great job.
Love that.
I want to move back to the doctor's office. I mean, obviously the first name terms of anyone who's had their fingers up my rectum is a good one. But I do want to mention, I'm going to have to look back. I don't have the line written down because I didn't have the energy. But it was a line that was like he was describing the fat on his body as like a symphony, the every crease a symphony, every fold
yes,
like because he's and I want that written down somewhere so I can say that anytime anyone's like, oh, you're getting a bit overweight, every fold is a symphony, like
I am what I am precisely because I have eaten my way to the top. I am a work of art created by the finest chefs in the world. Every fold is a brushstroke. Every crease a sonnet, every chin a concerto. In short, Dr. Darling, in my present form, I am a masterpiece.
Because I agree.
Yeah,
with
he's talking about how he's a work of art created by the food he has eaten.
Yeah,
the
exactly.
great chefs.
And I feel that way about my body, so
Hell yeah.
Hells yeah.
Fuck yeah.
I'm with that.
There weren't a lot of moments that made me kind of salivate for the food that's on screen, considering this is a foodie movie. The food doesn't look great. It's a bit like a Peter Greenaway film. It's a bit sort of ghastly and overwhelming.
Also, you were watching it in 240p.
True. But, oh god, and the fish market was just nightmarish. Just all this stuff slopping around and just... Oh god, it was quite horrific. But the only food that I think I did fancy the look of, the pigeon pies, when they came out of the oven, looked quite neat, quite well cooked, and yeah. That got me to a certain place. They look good.
But we all love
a
a
pie.
pie.
They actually have pigeon in it. Oh yeah.
And that makes sense. Pies are great.
Yeah. Pies are really good.
I famously don't like pies, but
Becs, we all love a pie.
no.
Offended.
No.
Oh,
Sorry. I like pie pastry, but the thing is, what's inside a pie is always in a gravy or a sauce, and I have sensory issues with wet food.
What about pork pies? A pork pie's okay because they're kind of.
I don't mind
dry.
a mini pork pie. I don't like a big one because then the ratio is off. I'm really only here for the outside of the pie.
Right, crusty boy.
Sausage roll?
The pork and the. Yeah, sausage roll's alright.
Sausage roll's good.
It's
Okay,
not
we
wet.
can.
Don't
I can get on with that. That's fine.
We can work with this.
That's fine. That's acceptable.
What did I have yesterday? I had something en croûte. It was
en croûte.
a chicken and chorizo little thing from Marks and Spencer's that was not wet. I don't think. No.
Well, I
That
mean, I
sounds
should also
great.
highlight that I am now a vegetarian, so almost all of these things that we're talking about are moot. But
not ideal. My suggestions. Anywho. All right. Well, that was mine. That was the pigeon pies.
I have quite a lot of the individual lines I liked were actually delivered by her. I thought she was quite good and funny. I don't think that someone had to, apologize for her lack of comedy by overacting it. I enjoyed when her ex-husband phoned her up while she was with French guy, and she says, well, we're fully clothed and we're exchanging recipes. Do you believe that? He said, yes. She said, well, we're not. We're fooling around.
Love that.
And I was like, yeah, girl, you tell him.
To be fair, I did quite enjoy his reaction of just, well, anyway.
Oh dear.
Oh god.
In the same scene, actually, I quite enjoyed the really off-putting sort of innuendos going on. I'm getting you sauced. I hope I go with red wine. And it's like, as much as I know that's gross, I still quite enjoy it. And
yeah,
I can't help it. I appreciate that.
I think I wouldn't find it that unsettling, like in like if it had just been the dialogue, but he was smearing pigeon pie over her and then like licking it off with such relish that I was
horrifying. So horrifying. Yeah, that was the most off-putting, vaguely sexual scene I think I've ever seen, honestly.
I think there's something quite nice in a sort of Dick Marlowe-esque way of seeing a character have something frightening happen to them and they just respond with a really fucking cool line. And you're just like, yeah, they're unflappable.
Yeah.
I love that for them. Speaking of unflappable, that was a pretty cool cat who shows up. They have a good cat in the kitchen.
That is a nice cat.
Weird glowing eyes.
That is a nice cat.
Nice kitty.
We never find out what happens to that cat.
That cat's fine. That cat was the secret accomplice.
That cat's gone to live in a fish market somewhere.
Yeah. That cat came to Venice with her. Stowed away.
I enjoyed when the police inspector is talking to her and he's like, I don't enjoy doing this. She's like, yes, you do. You enjoy scaring people and talking about blood and being horrible. And he's like, well, you may be right. And I was like, yeah, ACAB.
Fuck the police.
Fuck the police. Defund them. And this movie was well ahead of the curve on that.
So this is not. I wouldn't say this is necessarily something that I liked, but I appreciate that the murders were attempting to be in the way that they made their meals.
Yeah.
However, I will say they're drowned like a lobster. Drowned like a lobster? Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How we
lobsters famously I would say,
will drown.
Don't drown.
Yeah.
They just said at one point he died with his lobsters,
Which is not the same thing as being cooked the same way as you cook. Like
what they should have done is boiled him.
Yeah, and they should have put a knife down his back and cracked him open. Is what they should have fucking done. But no.
It's a shame that. I do like that subgenre of themed killings because it's a lot older than Seven. You know, back in the 70s, Vincent Price in particular used to get up to this sort of thing. In his movie Theatre of Blood, he's killing people, theatre critics, who gave him bad reviews, and he's killing them in the style of famous Shakespearean deaths.
Nice.
Which is
delicious. And then he's in The Abominable Dr. Phibes when he's killing people based on the plagues of Egypt, which can get quite contrived.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think the best place for that is, in fact, CSI.
Oh, really?
Yeah, CSI and Criminal Minds. There'll be like two weird murders and they'll be like, it's so strange, they can't possibly be related. And then there'll be a third one and someone will be like, this is exactly replicating the deaths of the kings of France. Or, like something really just...
Yeah, one of the characters will just know that. Really? Guy who looks like he's mainly into baseball?
They've all been posed for like famous art pieces that happen to be in this one gallery that I'm very familiar with personally, and it's like, oh, okay.
Thanks, Grissom. My favorite CSI thing was a locked room mystery solution that I don't think I've seen elsewhere, which is that a guy's dead, he's in a locked room. It turns out he was in the Sherlock Holmes Society and that he was setting a test for the other members of his society, but also, wanted to die. And so he killed himself with a revolver that was then attached to a elastic, so when he shot himself and, let go of the gun, shot up the chimney.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's
classic.
Good. That's quite good.
It's pretty decent.
I guess up the chimney is, a bit, what do they call it, murders in the Rue Morgue, but, nevertheless. Helen?
Is it my turn?
Was it? I don't know.
I did the drown like a lobster thing. I think it's your turn.
Yes,
you did. It's my turn. Venice looked great. Always looks great. I love the fact that all of the publicity around Venice is, our city is gorgeous. Please don't come here. It's sinking into the sea. We can't deal with how many tourists we get. And for some reason, Italy's not willing to limit or moderate this. So please just don't come to this gorgeous place.
Tough tits, I did, and I loved it.
Yeah! One day, they're having a film festival. It can't be that bad.
Yeah, I really like it. It is incredibly expensive, obviously, because everything has to be imported from the mainland.
Yeah.
But there's, I think, of all the places I've wandered around and gotten a bit lost for fun in the world, Venice is the best.
Oh, I want to go.
And there's something about taking a water taxi at 5 a.m. when nobody else is on the water and the sun is rising over Venice that is just...
That's very fancy. I like that.
That is.
Unfortunately, I was getting a water taxi at 5 a.m. because I had to take a train all the way back to Naples, but that's not the point.
Look, I don't know if you've ever taken the DLR from Shoreditch, but... equally as miraculous, I can assure you.
Stunning and beautiful. The sunset over Shoreditch.
The sunset bouncing off the Tesco. Tesco Quick? What did I mean? Local. No.
Extra?
Express.
Yes, one of those.
Express is the small
so-
one, extra's the big one, I think.
Oh, okay. That would make sense.
Who knows?
Yeah, God, that would have been great if I'd managed to rattle off Tesco Express.
We could
Such a
read it.
lovely-
Hey, this is the joy. It's your podcast, Paul. You could do another take and edit it
And
out.
we will laugh heartily if you wish.
Can I be fucked?
Or you could do another clean take, but also leave in
Really
a messy take.
Just so that everyone really knows that your laughter is.
Yeah.
Yep, you gotta know.
I don't know if you've ever taken the DLR home from Shoreditch, late at night with the sun glinting off the Tesco Express.
Yeah, you're so right. That is just like Venice. My gosh, you're funny, Paul Salt.
Thank you. Oh my god.
That's why I love coming on this podcast.
Oh,
Well, it is your turn for the
your
quick fix.
comic timing.
I did, even though I don't approve of all the sexual harassment that our protagonist suffered throughout this film,
None of us approve of that.
I did quite enjoy the insouciance with which the Italian man was like, it was me.
Oh,
She
yes,
thinks-
with the pinch.
She thinks a stranger has pinched her ass, and he's like,
But what is happening?
That man pinched me.
Oh, no, you're mistaken.
But what was it, a lobster?
It was me,
It was you.
of course.
no, he's still just looking at vegetables really intently, and he's like, obviously it was me.
Let me just claim
I'm
that real
really-
quick.
I'm curious about his espousement of this, his expanding, which is that, you squeeze a melon, you do something else with something else, and you pinch a woman. Like, what are you... First of all, ill, but also, what are you looking for?
Yeah,
when
she
you do
does
that?
then say, so that's why you rate us slightly below cabbages. Another great line.
A very good line. She's very good. Damn it.
I'm trying to think what you're actually looking for in a woman if you squeeze
Right?
the arse. Like, yeah.
Ripeness.
I feel like I would want a direct punch to the face. And it's like, you're the women for me. Just- Not a slap, but a direct left hook.
Or a knee to the balls. That's that's
Yeah.
always a classic.
Oh, hey. I'm not fussy. Oh, God, Helen.
Oh Jesus, I don't know anymore. So I'm going to take us forward to Paris, and I appreciated one of the chefs being like, "It's all very well for these people, but I will be squeezed and set on fire." I'm like,
Yeah.
what is
I'll be
his
skewered.
What is skewered? Sorry, yeah. I think
Yeah.
my autocorrect.
It was like flambéed livers or something.
Yeah.
oh, and the
Damn it, why
whole
wasn't my signature dish an animal that you let die peacefully in its sleep?
the whole freezing chicken livers bit is also very good because it's just like I can see that conversation legitimately happening between French chefs.
Love that.
They've met some French chefs. These people who wrote this.
Oh yeah. There is a feeling that at least they did some research. Okay, here's a line of Robert Morley's I enjoyed. What this man does to plain beef steak is nothing short of miraculous. Love that.
Spoken like a true Brit.
Facts.
Or an epitaph.
Facts. It's on the gravestone.
Becs?
In the same part in Paris, I really enjoyed some of the nervousness of the French chefs, but I particularly enjoyed the guy with the pistol who then accidentally shot his glass and made one of the funniest noises I've ever heard a human being make in surprise.
But I am ready.
Love that. Sample this, Paul. Hey, Paul! Paul, editing Paul. Pay attention and sample that. Stop watching TV whilst you're editing.
Yeah,
How
Paul.
could you possibly watch TV and edit at the same time? My brain could not physically do that ever.
I find it necessary. It's a weird thing. I find it easier to pay attention to something whilst I've got something else happening at once, and that's why a number of friends are quite concerned about me. and
Do
tell me
you
to
have
go get
ADHD,
tested.
Paul?
Well, look, maybe.
Because
Can't rule it out.
I have exactly the same problem where I can't play a video game, I can't edit something unless I've got something else also playing in the background.
Yeah, look, YouTube has started putting these really simple mobile games on its platform, and the other day I did do Quest Fantastic whilst doing a version of Tetris, and I have never paid more attention to that. to Quest
Yeah, Paul,
Fantastic
you're
in my
full of
entire life.
undiagnosed ADHD.
Okay, well that's good to know. You're just stuffed to the gills full of ADHD, son.
To be fair, I also do things whilst I'm doing other things, but I just physically couldn't do it while editing because editing is so boring. that if I did anything else while doing it, I couldn't. I just don't think I could. I just don't think I could.
Not the way I do it, which is a very light touch. As people at home will be only too accustomed to by now.
Apart from that someone we greeted at the beginning whose first episode this is.
Oh,
but you'll get used to it soon enough, someone.
They're a champ. They're a champ.
They know what
that
they're doing.
Person. God bless them for trying. Sorry if it's someone from Birkbeck. This is exactly the energy it always is. Helen?
Oh yeah, it's my turn. I really liked the attention to detail with how Americans don't know what floor is what floor. Because that's just true.
I enjoyed that too.
That's just facts.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm on the second floor. He's like, you're not on the second floor. This is the first floor, buddy. And then he just wanders off. He runs off during the man's sentence, which I think is quite rude, honestly. You know,
But also quite American.
quite American
Yes.
thing to do. You've given me
Very
my information.
well
I'm
observed.
leaving now. Yeah.
Okay, during the fight, there is a fight. A prolonged sequence in which our couple are arguing and set off the entire room.
Oh yeah,
which is,
that is
a surreal moment, but I quite like it. And there's one moment where everybody's talking. It's the beginnings of the fight, and a woman says,
You'll be happy to know I am on his side.
But I happen to be on hers.
and I just enjoyed. That's not the way round I would have put it, based on how these two are comporting themselves. So I quite enjoyed that he was avidly defending
I enjoyed
her.
that too.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed.
Beecham, I don't pay you enough. How much do I pay you? That's enough.
Yeah, the delivery was really good. Of just sort of a slight smile and that's enough.
Yeah.
It's quite whimsical.
I think the last one, I guess, is
Ooh.
It took three men died to keep you on your diet. I just say, I quite like that as a line. I appreciate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I quite like the premise.
I quite like
the
the premise.
that
Yeah.
it's just killing people. This assistant is killing people just in order to keep him on his diet. It's quite fun.
Yeah. I mean, she meant well.
I also like the kind of world building idea. Am I right in thinking that the person faked their death so that they would seem like the best?
Yes.
Because there's something said about, because if this killer is out targeting only the best people, then by staging a fake attack,
Then yeah,
on
you're
yourself.
You're the best.
letting the world know that you are the best chef in France.
Yeah.
that's quite good. That's a well thought out aspect of the premise.
It's such a French thing as well, because they go into this group of 6 people and they're all like, yes, well, clearly I am the best and I'm going to die. I've accepted this now. It's like, it's...
I guess that one guy had enough self-awareness to know that he was not in fact the best.
And
Yeah.
so he
So
had,
he
to,
had to
fake
make
his
it
death.
seem like it was, whereas every single other one genuinely believed they were going to die.
That's quite good. I like that. There's not even a scene of everyone being, comedically immodest. Of sort of, no, my things are always overcooked. You are the best chef. Like in the hopes that the killer might move their attentions. No, they're just.
They'd
I'm gonna
rather die
because
than
I'm
not be
best.
the best, basically.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I refuse to explain myself to someone who demands noises from his breakfast cereal.
That is good. That is good.
That's excellent.
That was pretty good.
Becs?
I really enjoyed that when the bomb exploded, it was the tiniest bomb that would have killed precisely nobody.
Yes. Yeah, it was a tiny explosion.
Oh, that's another thing. Actually, in that scene, I hadn't wrote this down. I don't know why. My note taking on this day was not good. I liked it was like, oh, it's not a bomb. You're being a dickhead, and then it blew up. I like that. I like when
Yeah,
that
there was a
happens.
long fake out.
Yeah, there was a fake out, and I enjoy a fake out as much as the next Joe.
Joes love a fake out. Right. I think my last one is a bit lame. I should have saved the this breakfast cereal one, but basically I just kind of like the festive shirt that Robert Morley shows up wearing at one stage. He seems to be in a sort of Christmassy style jumper, and I like that because I was getting relatively Christmas vibes from quite a bit of the movie. I don't know why. I guess I just associate this sort of big scale cooking productions with Christmas.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, I think so. But yeah, I enjoyed that jumper. And that's me. Bex, Do you have something better to finish this?
I just something that again that I didn't write down, but actually now that I'm thinking about it, I really enjoyed the guy who was in charge of the cooking show, who like hated everything that was happening. Like they were like close up on eggs, and he was like, "Lady, that's the most disgusting thing I've ever seen."
He was
Close up on
horrified.
my face.
That's really good, actually.
A man who clearly does not like food in any distinct way
Yeah,
at all.
exactly. Yeah,
Really believable for how television works.
yeah, and that's me. That was pretty much it.
Yep.
Love it. Okay, well, I don't think I tweeted this out. I don't think there's enough characters in Twitter to have gotten the title out. So
That's fair, but we do quickly need to do West Wing walk-ons.
Yes.
West Wing walk-ons, West Wing walk-ons, West Wing walk-ons.
Please tell us about
Because
the West
it's
Wing
very
walk-on.
important to me that you know that Barbara Miller, the casting director, worked on both West Wing.
Sorry, the casting director of this movie.
Yeah. Worked on
Oh
West
my
Wing
God.
as well. Yes. Not technically
And
a
yet,
walk-on.
in spite of that, no, in spite of that, did not manage to cast more than one person in the same thing. They didn't get Robert Morley for the
Yeah.
West Wing.
Yeah, I mean they were put off by all of the actors they chose for this film.
Yeah,
That they were like,
we've got to
no.
get this person in so that they can explain what they did, so we could do the opposite.
But
well-
it was very important for Sarah, obviously, that
Yeah.
we did that.
Thank you very much, and thank you to Sarah, the proud sponsor of West Wing Walk-Ons, and thank you to Goodman, who wrote a jingle for it that I have not used since its first instance because I can't remember where I saved it. Thank you for the effort that went into that. Right. Well, with that in mind, let's talk about the one better thing. The one better thing. Who's got one for me?
I got two.
Ooh.
Let's have them. Let's be having them.
I came up with them as we were speaking.
Love that. That's how I usually do
Yeah,
it.
so one, Knives Out, like obviously.
Oh,
as
of
we
course.
spoke
Yeah.
of. Yeah. Good old murders, whimsical murders.
Good old murders.
And also The Menu, because I
Oh,
thought,
yeah.
you know,
Good shout.
food, chefs murdering people, chefs being murdered by themselves, chefs murdering chefs. Yeah, all of that stuff was in there. And
Just a whole bunch of chef murder.
chef murder, you know. And
Chef murder.
although I will say, weirdly enough, in The Menu, a lot of the food looked like similarly kind of off-putting, in my opinion.
Yeah, I had high hopes for that cheeseburger at the end after it was so lovingly described by by one of my favourite parts of that movie, and I do think of it often, is first of all Rafe Fiennes' delight at being asked to prepare a cheeseburger, but also his very well thought out opinions about certain aspects of it. When she's like, I want it with American cheese, and he's like, American cheese is perfect for a cheeseburger because it doesn't separate. I'm like, ooh.
Ooh.
Do you know how many people asked Craig if that was true after that film came out? Almost everyone we know, apparently. It was really
that's-
weird. It was like, why are you
That's-
asking this now?
That's terrible. I can't believe they do that. Is it true?
Yeah, don't keep us in suspense, Helen.
Yeah.
Oh, apparently so.
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't, because
Makes
it's not
sense.
really cheese, so.
No, it's
Yeah,
not
that
some
makes
sort of
sense.
industrial byproducts
Yeah,
making
it's
plastic
plastic,
they
basically.
accidentally discovered. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Let's use
I
this as cheese.
personally prefer Edam, if I'm being honest. It melts nicer.
Oh, sure.
And it just
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
spreads itself out onto your burger, and you've got like a burger coated in cheese then. But that's me.
I like a little Monterey Jack. And I like the stretch.
That's fair. That's
Like a little
completely
stretch.
fair addition to a cheeseburger.
Guys, what do you like on your cheeseburgers? Tell us that. Whilst Becs tells us the one better thing.
Dead men don't wear plaid.
What's that? I have not heard of.
It is a it's like a noir comedy
Ooh.
situation.
Noir comedy
those
situation.
situations.
A noir comedy situation where a private investigator is hired by the daughter of a cheesemaker to investigate his untimely death.
Stunning.
And he basically meets various classic characters. It's Steve Martin.
Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. It's fun. Watch it.
Sounds good.
There's cheese.
Sounds fun.
It's an 80s silly murder film,
Yay.
and I like a silly
That's-
murder film.
That's good. I was trying to think of another silly murder film because, yes, Knives Out did occur, as did Clue, of course, which is a great fun film, which everyone should watch. And then I was trying to think of others, and there are apparently a few around. So there's a Mel Brooks movie called High Anxiety. Yeah, there's a few others, but none that really sort of stuck to mind as something that I've seen before and loved. I think, obviously, if you've not seen any of the Inspector Clouseau films, then Shot in the Dark operates like a murder mystery and is good fun. Is Peter Sellers at his most powerful. So I suppose I shall go with that. And those are the several better things.
Lots of better things.
The one better thing. Well, that brings us to the end. How can people find out more about the entirety of Roll Plus Whole?
Wow. Really glad we didn't call it that. Really glad we didn't call it that.
That's a whole other thing.
You can find us at our website, rollplusheart.co.uk. That has lots of things on there. It has game reviews. It has episodes. You can buy merch. It's all on there. We're also on pretty much every social media you can imagine at Roll Plus Heart. Although no longer a Facebook group because Facebook has changed how they work and now you can't auto-publish things. And I'm sorry, but I'm just not manually publishing things to Facebook. Life is too short.
Yep.
Individually, you can find Helen under your bed. If you leave out a piece of Edam, she will come and eat it. You may or may not see it leave. You can find me on pretty much every social platform at Starling Dust. I stream art. I sell art. I am online. Hello.
They are online, and I think that is the crucial thing to bear in mind.
Yeah. I am not.
Anything else? I am not. Do not find me. Goodbye.
Helen will now log out of the Zoom call and we may never see her again.
Mysteries. You never know.
I love it. I love the unknowability of Helen. And if you want to find out more about our very decided knowability, then please check it out. OGT Pod, any way that you want to. We've also got Quest Fantastic. That's got most of us in it as well. Oh, Jen and the Film Critic as well, which has another aspect, percentile of the Roll Plus Heart is in it. Roll Plus Quarter. Roll Plus Quart.
Roll Plus One. Roll
plus one is pretty good. You will find that, yeah, Jen and the Film Critic, I think that just about brings us up. Nobody with a gardening blog has beaten us there yet.
Nice.
I'm poor blog.
I'm letting Helen go first.
I'm very respectful.
I'm Helen Edam, I guess.
And I don't like cheeseburgers.
Hey!
That was the secret the whole time. And remember, the one good thing about who is killing the greatest chefs in Europe is that I'm not going to have to try and say that title again. Woo! Woo! Woo!